Hi, everyone. Welcome to our monthly podcast with the one and only Miss Sandy Miarecki, who is the head of the Republic, and she's also the acting Secretary of State in the Republic for Texas. And she's going to give us her monthly insights, updates on that, and all the other things we usually talk about that intersect. So if you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. So that helps the channel grow and others to gain the knowledge you've been afforded. As you know, Sandy is a retired Air Force military vet, test pilot, one of the best of the best, and she is a fighting advocate for the real republic, and that is going to bring us back to said constitutional republic under the leadership of the military and President Trump. And she's going to give her latest. So, how are you doing today, my dear?
I'm doing well. Can I make one correction?
Please, I would.
I have to make sure because otherwise, I get accused of
Oh, yeah, I
saying
know.
false things, even though I didn't, right?
Oh, go ahead.
I am not the president of the republic. That is Jim Geiger. I am the National Secretary of State,
Yeah,
and Texas governor and Texas Secretary of State are other people. So I was able to hand off those positions, thank God, so that I don't only have one job, which is really like 6 jobs, but that's all right.
sure. Well, I think I said acting Secretary of State. I was pretty
Of
sure,
Texas.
of Texas, but that's fine. I'd rather it come from the horse's mouth. So that's absolutely. I make mistakes all the time, so I'm happy to be getting the
It's a
give you.
tiny little one, so it's not a big deal.
Oh no, but I want the people to have it as accurate as possible. So thank you for doing that. So now that we've set that table, where are we in the process as far as your side is concerned?
So, we still have the splinter group. So we have the original Republic. I'll try to give you the 2-minute again, like I do at the beginning of all your videos. We know that our founding fathers gave us a constitutional republic. Well, anyone over the age of 40 who actually had an education. And so we know that we're supposed to have a constitutional republic. Long story short, we lost it around 1871 in the Organic Act when Washington, D.C. was incorporated, and then they incorporated every other level of the government, such that they kicked the republic out and abandoned it. Well, the White Hats back in the JFK days knew that they had to do something, especially since JFK had just been assassinated by his own government. And they started to form what they called the Army of Virginia. We call them White Hats today. And so they have been trying to figure out a plan, approached a bunch of patriots in the 2008 timeframe, right after Obama was elected. We all know that that really didn't happen. But, that's what they say. And so the message from the White Hats to this group was called the Restore America Plan. And they said, can you restore the Republic? And they said, we don't know, but let's check it out. And so month or so goes by and they come up with a plan and show the White Hats and they say, let's try. And so off they went and they were successful. So that's what this republic for the United States of America, that's what we are, that's what we represent. We have essentially filled the abandoned seats from 1871 and we're holding them like in a trust, kind of. We call ourselves interim representatives. And we're just here to maintain this republic and temporarily hold the seats until we can have authentic, free, and fair elections in a republic and not in a corporation. Because Trump, also recruited by the same White Hats to be president, CEO of the corporation, because we don't only have a corporation. And so that's what he is right now, because we know that executive orders don't exist in a republic like what he's doing. Therefore, we know he also thinks he knows he's the CEO of this corporation. And it's either bankrupt or like the last step before full bankruptcy. And then the corporation will be removed. And then there's a vacuum. That's what this republic is about. We will hold those seats only until the elections can be held. And we will happily, gladly give up these seats because a lot of us has been holding them for like 17 years and we're tired. So we're just doing our jobs. God is in charge. This is God's plan, God's republic, and all we're trying to do is fulfill our assignments, which is what God's telling us to do. There you go. That was probably more than 2 minutes, but you got
I will listen to 5. It was perfect. You packed a lot into a small, contracted space.
Yep.
So thank you for that. So
infiltration.
Okay.
This is the 3rd time, if not 4th. It depends on how you count. But back during the Obama days in the 2012 timeframe. Actually, it was about 2011 was probably when they started their plan to infiltrate and destroy this republic because they were holding grand juries. Guess who was the subject? Oh, Obama and his people.
Mm.
So that put a
Fucker.
big target on us, and infiltration came in. The lies, the libel, the slander, the divide and conquer. We need to do it this other way, not the way that the Republic is doing it and trying to argue and get people to splinter. That's why we use the word splinter group. And accusing the president, which was Tim Turner at the time, of doing things that never happened. The same old plan. I mean, 2012 it happened, 2016, 17 it happened, and now it's happening 2025. You know, why ruin a plan when it's working great? So the black hats have tricked Tim Turner, the original Republic president, who was arrested in 2012 and went to jail for 10 years, then was released. Now they're tricking him into thinking that they're the white hats and he's actually leading the splinter group. His cohorts in that crime are a 32-degree Mason and a man that claims to have been a Navy SEAL. And as far as we can tell, has never actually been in the military. And I actually have proof that he was never a Navy SEAL. So that's who their leaders are. So, you know, they like to lie a lot because they can't do their job any other way. Because this original republic stands in truth. We stand with the Constitution, support and defend. I mean, this is our oath of office, right? It sounds very much like the military one.
Right.
That's what we're all about. So infiltration this year happened in January, and they planning it since at least August of last year. I saw the signs, but you know, it's a discernment and feelings, and you can't fire people on that. You have to fire them on actions and fruits, right? Actual fruits of survival. So we had to wait until they actually did something bad, and then we could remove them. And so that's essentially what happened. They, bad guys, took down our website. We have proof of this because they admitted it. An international crime. I'm just, you know, saying. March 20th-ish, I think. And we have the first month or so, we were trying to figure out, well, what should we do? And of course, we're all praying about it. And then God brings us the solution about the end of April. And so, unfortunately, the people who are responsible for doing that ended up with a lot of personal issues, a lot of work issues, and we're all volunteers. You know, we don't get paid. And doesn't have the time because of everything else going on. So, and it must be God's plan. You just have to go, there's no other way this could be happening except it has to be God's plan.
Absolutely.
And so we're almost to the point where our website is back up and running, in which case that will be when we are full up and running, we'll get all of our people that have signed on since your podcasts, because a lot of them are coming in from you, and we greatly appreciate that. We're just having to bypass the website, and then we'll put them back into the website so they can sign in officially and all that other stuff. That's basically the generic update up to roughly this time frame. Do you want the latest news?
I'm letting you talk and just get it all out because I have questions for you, but I want you to get out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so other than the website, which is of course we're working on that, you know, as fast as we can. Let's see, where do I start? Just like everybody else, we're still waiting for the official word from the Trump administration. But we also know that that is a mixed bag, because the second that he does that and his administration contacts us, that paints a huge target on us, a bigger one than we already have with the infiltrators. So we're going to draw a lot of negative attention to ourselves, and he knows that. And so he's only going to contact us when it is time for us to prepare. We had 50 governors. We had all states, at least with governors. About half of those states were fully manned with the 8 positions that we consider to be the minimum amount. And we have about, I think, 11 or 12, I think, states without governors right now. I'm, of course, always talking to people who are interested in doing that, trying to use some discernment in advance God, what are you telling me about this new person that's contacting us, right? So, but, we've got senator positions, House positions, judicial positions, counties, especially we need to have the counties. And anyone who's listening to this podcast who's actually following one of the splinter people, you need to know who they are. And if you're not sure, you can always contact me and I'll give you an email address here in a bit. So you can always reach out and ask, what about this person? And I'll say, well, here's the cease and desist list that we've accomplished under a, actual notice, an official notice from the Republic saying these people are not in the Republic anymore. And so you need to know. I will not tell you what to do. They are not in the Republic. You can either follow them or you can come back to the original Republic. And that's actually the biggest piece of news that's going on right now, kind of in a biblical kind of way. The folks that were in the counties that got tricked by the splinter group into following them realize that they're not in the right place. And they're now reaching out to me in 3 states and other states warming up and saying, we never signed up with the splinter group. We got tricked. We want to come back to the original Republic. How do we do that? And it's simple. They just need to contact me and I'll give them the steps and off we go. So that's a very positive thing that's happened since the last time you and I have talked.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I have 3 primary questions, Sandy, before we go into the other
Let me have it.
the realms that we usually discuss.
Yes, sir.
So the first question, ma'am, is you mentioned the groups have infiltrated or tried to hijack, which is a crime. Is that considered treasonous?
So when you look at the actual definition in the Constitution, and if you really want to look at the US Code, which is so corrupt, it's hard to even pull out the actual law, right? Treason involves an act of war or an actual war where you are giving aid and comfort to the enemy. That one's a hard one because where's the war? Unless you want to go with information war.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Sedition, however, 100%.
Okay.
And in fact, there's the other piece of good news. We've actually had our first grand jury. We started them up again.
Good.
So one of the splinter leaders was the subject of our latest first grand jury. And an indictment was the outcome of that grand jury. And so when we are ready to hold trials, we will hold this person accountable. So, and we're about to warm up our second grand jury. So, yes,
Things are heating up.
Progress since the last time we talked.
That progress is good. Thank you. Second question is, you have always been very consistent since I've known you in a variety of fashions. And one of those ways is you've always said that we look at President Trump's markers of May 30th to 4th of July next year. Okay, so we're now at the last full week of June as of this podcast, where July isn't involved because next week will be. You have always said that if it didn't happen by May 30th, something was wrong. Are you thinking that, or are you just thinking that the Patriots and Trump have a specific time frame in mind that is maybe slightly altered and it's not wrong, it's just readjusted? What are your thoughts on that?
Readjusted. The reason I say that is because something major did occur in that time frame. And that was the whole thing with Israel. And so now this attack on Iran, we don't even really know what actually happened, but and I'm still trying to catch up on podcasts of the military experts like Scott Ritter and Colonel Douglas McGregor and folks like that. Michael Yan, the folks that know what's going on and have insiders and can give us some data. Something wasn't right. I just, again, the discernment thing, right? You're like, what? Not quite right. Something's not right.
Yeah.
And then I heard the report, I think it was either Hegseth or somebody from the White House said Tomahawk missiles. And I went, those aren't bunker busters. What did they do? I don't know. So if it was actually Tomahawk missiles, it's like, was this another show? because that's not what you would use to attack a mountain. My opinion, they're not that high explosive. And the other thing too is if you're trying to penetrate a mountain, like if you're trying to attack Cheyenne Mountain, right, and get to the NORAD and all that, you're going to drop a bomb on exactly the same spot and try to tunnel all the way down through, right? You're going to just keep hitting it and keep hitting it and dig, 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 dig. If they scattered these things, it's like, was that for show? And I got to wonder, what's Trump up to? I don't think he's dumb. I don't think his military was misleading him. I don't know what's going on exactly. Although, if this was a show for the Zionists to say, look, America supported Israel, but didn't really get Iran into a war because they warned them in advance. I think I heard that, like 12 hours or something or more, and then dropped stuff that didn't actually go into the facility, wasn't designed to go into this facility. And I'm like, so was that the thing that they were talking about, the big things happening, before July 4th? I'm not an insider. I talked to a few, but they don't really know a whole lot about this. My insiders are more on the financial side, although they do have insiders in the military as well. But one of the things that we were able to do is that cease and desist letter I told you. It's like the following people are no longer in the republic. You must cease and desist pretending to be in this republic. You are no longer officials. Stop doing it. We have 2 letters like that. We're working on our 3rd one of these list of people that have left, essentially. And I ensured that those first 2 letters got to the White Hats. So they now know who our splinter group members are.
We from the terrors, basically separating itself. Well, before we go into the financial stuff, because I do have something to say about what you just shared, the 3rd question would be, and this one I get a lot, so I want to mop it up as under the auspices of the True Republic, is get John, ask Sandy this or ask Sandy that, because you're on my Rumble, so you've seen it.
Sure.
So I want you to be able to address this and cover a wide net on the spectrum of this question. And that is, what are the blue states like California, Washington State, where I have a sister in Christ over there who wants to be a part of this. They're getting pushback. What are these blue states that you have patriots and conservatives alike in there who want to effectuate change? As you said, a lot are coming from the podcast. They're in a sort of a stuck position. They're sort of in a holding pattern. What can they do beyond just contacting you to help, galvanize the movement?
The best thing is to just contact me, because I'm not going to just throw someone into a position without the full story. They need to know what they're getting themselves into. And California is a chocolate mess. I'm sorry. Oregon and
Argument
Washington
there.
is better.
Yeah.
And that's basically, they were setting themselves to splinter. Like I said, I could see it back in August. I could see the signs that this was where they were going to go, but without actual proof, you got to let it go. And so we had to let it go. So there's a totally unconstitutional thing going on in California where they're saying, well, we are the 1849 Republic of California. There's no such thing.
No.
And especially since they became a state, they were territory, then the state. It's like, where are you getting this stuff from? Right? And you can never remove a state from the union once it's been a state. That's what the whole Civil War thing was about. The people can leave, like, the officials can say, I am no longer in this republic. Great, we'll put new officials in those seats. That's what we're doing. But we got to have these people step forward, and it's hard. I mean, there's so many negative splinter people in those 3 coastal states on the West Coast. But we have folks that are stepping forward and saying, how can I help? And I usually get them started in the county. First start at the low level, get your county stood up, and then see how's that going. You feeling like You've learned enough about the Republic. You've got the understanding of what's going on. Do you want more? And then go from there. Or no, I'm good. I just want to stay in the county. Okay, I'm not going to push, right? Not
Right.
push a little. It's like, come on, take it, just take it.
Yeah. A little nudge.
A little nudge, yes.
But it would seem that your prior point about some of the movement you've had would, I would think, logically facilitate some underpinning for the third point we just made. Is that fair to say?
Yes. And that's basically, the advice I can only give you is you got to contact me, and then we have to have the conversation. And I'm going to give you the skinny. I'm saying, here are the facts. Here's what we're dealing with. Do you want to get involved?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay. Well, cool. Sounds like we're moving, regardless of the pushback and the resistance, we're moving in the right direction. That's really the key. Is just like a soldier, just keep marching forward, regardless of the circumspect environments around you,
That's right.
situations.
That's right.
So yeah, very
And that's
good.
where these counties coming back says volumes, right? It speaks volumes because they're realizing they're in the wrong place. They're listening to these splinter people talking and they're going, I don't want to follow a 32-degree Mason. Says, I don't blame you. I mean, this country is in such dire straits because the secret societies are the ones that screwed it up. Since the beginning, they were already infiltrating during the founding fathers' time.
Yeah.
And there's the people who say, oh, but the founding fathers were all Masons. BS. Not
That's
like,
not true at all.
the
It's not true.
Masons of 1770 versus the Masons of 2025. No,
No.
completely different organizations. They might as well have separate names. But when you infiltrate, there you go. So you can
Clear.
change it and alter it and whatever. So that's what we're fighting. And
Yeah.
so why would we want to follow another 32-degree Mason?
Right.
So we end up right back where we started. Hello, let's not do that. So yeah, no society is allowed in this republic.
No more vicious circles. And our founding fathers were clearly deists. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure
Oh
that.
gosh, yes.
I mean, that should be a slam dunk. Like you said,
Mhm.
had an education in a decent area, you would know that's just common sense. But Thomas Paine said that's very uncommon, and that these are the times that try men's souls. Never more apropos than today. So thank you for that. So yeah, what information or anything would you like on your end? What would you need?
Oh, from them? Like
No, no,
anything
I'm saying like,
volunteering?
well, no, not so much that, like, because you're covering your side of it, but anything that I can offer you from our side of things that can fill in gaps for you that will complement what you're doing,
Mm,
whether it's financial or whatever.
sure. Well, one of the questions we keep getting answered is, well, how much money have you gotten? None. We don't have a treasury. We're being promised the treasury when the republic is restored, but we
Right.
don't have one right now. We do have the independent private ministry that manages our donations because the government can't handle donations, but that's
Mhm.
all we have. So, website, Google Drive, Zoom channels, anything that like that has to be paid for. And a lot of us have been paying for it out of pocket because we weren't getting enough donations. That has now slightly changed, and that's because of all the new people that we've had coming in since about a year ago. It's been a year now that we've had this big resurgence and interest in this republic. And when people hear the story, they go, that's what I've been praying for. And then they decide that they've got to get involved, and I'm happy to talk to them or one of the people that helps me with that. So bring me back to the beginning. I'm sorry, I got off
Well,
on
that's fine. Let me just put it this way, just to add to the cachet.
financial. I was on the financial.
Yeah, well, let's go back to what you talked about earlier with
Mhm.
Israel and Iran. I mean, I have several people on my side, and I've said this on some of the podcasts I had earlier today. So this is a familiar refrain, but I think it's good for your audience to hear.
Mhm.
Several people on my end. There are a lot of Christians, as you know, in Iraq and Iran, who
Mhm.
are wholly thrilled about what's going on. And ipso facto, it's taken out a lot of the corrupt Iranian scumbag government proxies who are tied to our deep state that we're defrocking, decoupling wheat from the tares, however you want to put it. And they're thrilled because it's removing the Iranian revolution since the Shah in the late 70s. And that is part of Nisara Jasara. So they bundle together, they intertwine. That's going to allow people to go back to their home countries that were driven out by their deep state, our deep state. And it's going to allow them to go back home and get their land, get their prosperity, get their freedom, all one and the same, just like us. And is going to allow them to decouple from the deep state Federal Reserve note dollar, which is neither federal or anything else. Federal Express wouldn't even cover it. And so they're overjoyed is the sentiment that the resounding sentiment that I'm receiving on this front. Also, there's a lot of hard drives and chips that the deep state implanted in the Ukraine and in Iran. And that has information tying to Barry Soetoro and Epstein and all the deep state files and all the arrests and the justice that everybody wants to see. Trump has now, with the Patriots, seized that back during this malaise of information chaos that's going on. But it all ties back to the Kim Clement prophecy I've always talked about with you, Sandy, and everyone who listened. Phase 1, Israel did a surprise attack.
Yep.
Phase 2 now, the grave surrender. Because there's no way that little country, those piss ants, are going to be able to stop the U.S. or the Israeli military, which is pretty badass. They're going to take them out, and that's good. They're going to put their foot on their throat, and that's a good thing because of what we just talked about. Okay, forget the Zionists, forget the Mossad, forget the Khazarians. We know they're part of the deep state, but the right side is running the show now officially. And with the news I just gave you offline about what's going on, it's pretty darn exciting that I think the curtain's going to be pulled back now. We're getting to that point. So it seems to me that I agree with you that there's an adjustment being made from May 30th. It's our humble opinion as a team, when I say our, to be precise, that July 4th onward to next July, I'm not saying we're waiting till next year. It starts this year, folks. Pay attention. Don't hear what you want to hear. Don't get emotional, get logical. This July 4th, should be next week and a half, through next July is going to be the Jubilee year period. Now, what I can confirm to you, Sandy, I don't know if you've seen on my podcast, but we announced last week that the ISO 20022 has been moved up from November 1st to July 14th, 3.5 months ahead of schedule. What a coincidence, as there are none in the kingdom of heaven. Right. That means they'd always had it planned for July. You have the big, beautiful bill that's probably going to get announced between now and early next week. Right, but that's what's behind it, removing the IRS to the ERS, which he already did in 2020. We know this. I've gone over this 100 times. I'm putting pieces together for the audience. Because we have new people coming in, and everybody has a different stage, as I understand that. So I'm sorry, the folks who know, give a little rope, because the people that are below you didn't know this, like you didn't know at one point. We got to
reach down and grab them and give them a hand and pull them up to your level. That's what
just like the people above you grabbed you and reached you up.
That's right.
Don't forget your history. Don't forget that you didn't know anything either at one point. We all are sinners saved by grace. So it's clear to us that July, the number of perfections is going to be the adjustment period you mentioned, where these things circumvent. And as that's happening, that's going to bring a lot of things in for a landing. We believe the Jubilee year starts in July of this year, all the way to next July.
Yep. Agree with everything you said. The one thing I want to be very clear about is that America will always support the people of each country, not the governments of each country. These are governments against governments, deep state against deep state against white hats against deep state. It's just like these ridiculously crazy people that are trying to run all of us, when just your normal, Israeli citizen, Hebrew person, and then your normal American citizen. And, we're just trying to get along and do our best to take care of our families and whatever. And it's all this garbage that's happening at this stupid level that we're just like, would you just stop? Because what did we all vote Trump in for? Stop the wars. Isn't that what he said? Stop the wars?
And the endless.
And then he just started another one. Now, but he did. But did he? Right? This is the question.
No.
It's like,
No,
there's
he didn't.
really weird stuff that happened with that attack on Iran, right?
Right.
And more than likely, they're going to set up some sort of a attack of Iran on something of ours.
Right. Mostly a DC site, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it'll be well, it could be that, or it could be something overseas. It could be maybe a base that's only minimally manned, but they'll take it out anyways because they'll say, look, we attacked America, and
Right.
everybody's like, yay. And then both sides are happy for something. I don't know.
Well, Sandy, not to interrupt, to your point, Amir Safari, who's a pretty big Middle East expert on Telegram, announced this morning, we put on our Telegram that in Iraq, reports are being made of a drone attack on American bases in Iraq, to your point. But could that also signal a distraction cover for an emergency government regime change in Iran and Iraq? We think so.
possible.
I think it's pretty likely, actually, because that's going to bring the grave surrender phase 2 that Kim Clement talked about. It's going to be a suddenly why now moment. Nelson Chamisa, the preeminent true people's leader in Zimbabwe, said today it's going to be a suddenly moment. So you're seeing these themes ginned up repetitively, and the countries, don't forget, copy each other, right? Because it's like you said, Satan can only copy, he can never create. So what does Satan do? He mixes in a little bit of truth with a lot of lie, and he jumps it in there. Just like the COVID jab, they put all that garbage into a healthy system. It's the same exact thing.
Yep. Agreed.
So that's why we're just looking for the parallels. But from our side of things, we're pretty darn encouraged about what we're seeing. I think that July is looking extremely positive for a number of fronts, geopolitical and financial.
Yep. I hope so. As we know, they've got a timeline. They, the good guys, right, have a
Right.
timeline, but it's like
Right.
you and I don't know what it is.
No.
And there's also the checklist of, okay, for this next step in the timeline to occur, we have to do this, this, and this. Well, if those things get delayed, so does that thing. And so we can think that it's all going to happen in July, and then, it's a moving target. So it's not like we can just say, okay, therefore now we can do this next thing. No, it's because the bad guys are always trying to circumvent too. So
Sure. Moves and counter moves.
yeah, pretty much.
But also, I don't know if you saw on our Telegram over the weekend, the president of Iran actually already resigned.
I saw.
So the regime, thank you, because I want the audience to hear that from you.
Yes.
The regime change has already begun. That's where it starts because he knows what's coming. Why do the bad guys always step out right before the chaos happens? You take somebody like Warren Buffett, who stepped out months ago and sold his stock, telling you to buy foreign currencies because he's done it. They always leave the back door shortly before it goes down. So this is a clear indicator of what's coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's pretty exciting. I think we're going to see the beginning of the relief that people are looking for in July. That's the point, and that will beget more momentum. So very encouraging.
And I think another thing is we're going to see more stuff like June 14th, the Saturday, the Army's anniversary and Trump's birthday, and they quote, no King's Day.
Right.
Even in my little tiny town here in East Texas, there was like, I don't know, 15 people, 20 people out on the little town square, on the one corner. I was like, where did you guys come from, Dallas? Because it's like, we don't have anybody like that here. I guess we have 20 of them in the county or something. But anyways, so they're going to keep trying to do that kind of stuff, to try to keep making us think that all these people, don't like Trump and all that. It's like, no, just those few, and
Mr. X.
Yeah, I'll just say that the opposite point of view was being expressed as people were driving by. Maybe not so, they were a little rude, let's just say.
Very diplomatic of you to say, but yeah. Well, again, I'm going to go back to what Kim Clement said. When things seem at their worst, I will set my people free. The more distractions we have, the more misdirections we have, the better they have the cloak and dagger to do all these things, financial and geopolitical. So,
well, I know people aren't keeping too much track, but January 20th was when Trump took over, right? So the inauguration.
Right.
February, March, April, May, June. It's only been 5 months.
Yeah.
Feels like a year to me of all the stuff that's been going on, right? It's like it's just packed in so tight.
Yeah.
We can hardly even keep track.
It's a great point.
And this is what's happened in only 5 months, what's going to happen in 4 years? If we make it that long.
It won't take that long, I can
I
assure
don't
you.
think so either, but we have
No.
to, we keep saying we don't know the timeline. We don't know
No,
the
but
checklists. And so who knows how long it'll take,
we know the events and puzzle pieces, and that's what matters, right?
and
And and you also have, Flag Day. You mentioned his birthday. You had the night, the military night, pass over the flag. He took over the gigantic 88-foot, is 88 feet flag, I think, right in front of the White House.
Mhm.
88, 10 days of darkness, EAS, if they need it. I don't think it'll be 10 days, but that's the marker.
Right.
There's all these things. If you really, as our audiences are paying attention and focusing on the micro details, it tells a very clear and present story. So,
The other thing that the good guys are doing is they're going to intentionally drop false information into social
yeah,
media
that's right.
and then see how people react. What is their reaction? And that will then determine if we are ready to go on to this next step in their progression, right?
Mhm.
And so as much as I don't like social media in general, because I think it's too addictive to a lot of people, it's time for us to be involved in that, especially when we disagree with or very much agree with something that's being said or done on there. And because the white hats are looking for the response to know whether or not it's ready to go to the next step.
Yeah.
So if people that are listening to us right now don't get involved in any other way, at least would you please put likes and thumbs up and thumbs down and whatever on the stuff that's being said on social media? You're doing that anyways, but just make sure that you're doing it to the stuff that you really feel strongly about, because they're reading that and they're getting that, is the people ready? Are the people ready
Yeah.
to go on to this next step in this timeline?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they're doing that.
They're using it as a gauge, like a temperature gauge.
Mhm.
I 100% believe that. And I
Yep.
think you're absolutely right. And it's the frog in the proverbial pot continuing to. The good news is, I think we're at about step 9 in the color revolution. So we're getting to the end game of this whole thing as I watch it. So that's why another reason why I'm very encouraged about not because I don't do fake hyperbole with my audience. We don't gin our audience up. I try to stay very level because that's how God needs us to be, right? If I'm not, but I'm saying if I were to panic, the audience would panic, or I just everybody's got their style, and that's fine. Some people they're over the top and they're and you have to be authentically who you are. But for us, we believe this is a calling, and it doesn't mean we don't have our human emotions. We just don't allow it to override the level-headedness that we have to think of our audience and not ourselves. This is for the betterment of God's people, not our own personal uh, internal gauge, essentially. So
It's good. It's got to be good for the country and the world.
yeah,
That's like the big picture kind of thing.
Yeah, the overarching picture is our communities, our country, our our world, the lion's share, because we don't know who's watching from where, and that's not our business. We just need to get it out to the people and then let them make their own determinations, right? Free will. So
yeah.
Well, I love it, Sandy. Always a pleasure. As always, please let the audience know where they can find your work, the Republic, and last thoughts for the audience today, please.
Yes, we are hopeful that we will have the website up this week. I know I keep telling you that on these shows, and then something happens, right? So we're not any different than Trump's timeline. So the main address to contact the Republic in general, to reach me, is rrb.admin at Republic of the United States.org. I'll do that one more time, and I think you'll put it in the description.
Well,
rrb.admin at Republic of the United States.org. That is like our, entry level email. To be connected directly to the governor in this republic, the interim governor in your state, It's the state name. If it's one word like Texas or Illinois, you just put that in the front, and then at, now the suffix is different, so listen carefully, Republic for, FOR, the United States of America.org. We've got 2 domains, so it's a little confusing. I'm sorry about that, but that's why I'm being very specific and emphasizing.
Sure.
If your state is 2 words like North Dakota, then it's North _ Dakota at in the same suffix, Republic for the United States of America.org. And it'll go direct to the governor, and the governor should respond to you within 2 or 3 days. If not, then try that rrb.admin one, okay, with the other suffix. And you'll get an answer one way or the other that way. And the rrb one, I can send it to the governor. So you've got a couple of choices. Go direct to the governor through the state email, or come to the rrb.admin and we will forward it to the governor. It just might take a couple extra days because we're all volunteers and we're all, we got day jobs and families and everything else too, I got a leaky roof I got to deal with on a 3-year-old house. Who knew? So yeah, just, whatever.
Life. Is there a phone number, or is that just the email primarily?
No, we just work with email. That's just the best way to reach us. We don't have the manning, at the national level to have someone on a phone line all the time. So,
right.
And then plus, what are we going to do? We're going to type up an email. We're going to send it out to the governor. So it's just easier for you to do it. And then include which state are you in? If you have a position in mind, you're thinking about maybe what county you're in, maybe a phone number, and then the governor can call you directly and we can just bypass the whole email shenanigans. And we'll definitely get connected. And we don't give up. I mean, you should not give up, and we don't give up until we actually get, connected. So it just may take a couple of days, because sometimes after these podcasts, we get a couple 100 to 500 or so new messages. So, and we love that, honestly. And we will answer every single one.
It's great to hear. Thank you. Any last thoughts or anything you want to share with the audience? So
eventually, when our website does come back up, it's got a very long website address, but we have a shortcut that then redirects to the long website. So let me give you that. It's Republic for, FOR, USA.org. Republic for USA.org. That will go to our members website once it's up and running again. We are so close. I'm really hoping I don't have to say this again on our next podcast. It's almost up. No, we're going to get it finally be installed again. All in God's timing. I have to just accept that there was a reason why it's been delayed this long. This is God's republic. It's all in God's timing. Just tell myself that every day. And we move on.
He's never late and he's never early. That's for sure.
This has all been in the plan ever since he said, let there be light. So we just have to accept it.
Exactly. And embrace it. And folks, we'll leave all those links in the description as we customarily do. And if you are looking for currencies or Actinar, Vietnamese Dong, Zim bonds, Venezuelan Bolivar, Colombian peso is a good one. We're also keen on as well. Or adding to what you already have. As always, our sponsor of the channel will leave that link in the description. Ms. Sandy Miarecki, thank you for joining us as always. We appreciate you. We salute you. God bless. Take care. Have a wonderful 4th holiday. I think this one's going to be pretty ceremonious amongst the many we've had before. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the not too distant future.
Thank you, John. You have a great one.
You too.